Sorry guys, I've been mute the whole freaking time. I had to edit that. Yes, this is the great debate with Andrew Wilson and Candace. It's about to start in about 11 minutes. Uh, and Patrick Bet Davis is the moderator. So I like Patrick, but I don't know. Like, I heard he's a Zionist though, but he does hold debates a lot on his podcast, the Patrick Bet David, the PBD podcast. Make sure you give all these guys a subscribe or like, please. Big David, Andrew, because he is good. Like I'm picking. I want Candace to win. Like I said with fights. Like if I'm watching the UFC and I like somebody, I get nervous for the fighters that I want to win. It's like I'm not even fighting in the octagon and I'm nervous for them. But I have till 3 o'clock today, so because I'm house sitting my aunt and uncle's uh house for their dogs. I've been house sitting their dogs for weeks. And I tried to do it on my laptop, but it won't. It wouldn't. When I was trying to go live on YouTube, it wouldn't let me. It kept saying error or something wrong. So I had to come back to my house where my computer. I don't like going on my laptop anyways. I hate that mouse thing. And so let's see, 9 more minutes. I'm nervous. I'm nervous. And okay, and the claim is that if Tyler Robinson is a patsy or or he didn't do it. Candace's claim is that Tyler did not do this. And Andrew's claim is he has overwhelming evidence uh, from the what do you call it, the preliminary hearing, like for Tyler. So he says there's overwhelming evidence. All I saw was engraved bullets, brand new. Nate Vahala VFT even brought the bullets on the live. He's like, guys, these are brand new. He's like, they're not grand. And he even showed us the rifle too, Nate. He's like, I have my granddad's rifle. And it's the 30-06 are made, I think they're made out of wood, I believe. I don't know much about guns. Uh, I'm more of a ninja. I like I like nunchucks, swords, a Borno. That's my favorite. I can't say it on here what that weapon is, but it is a ninja weapon. It's one of their. I think it's worse. I think it's worse than a sword, in my take. But I don't know how long this debate is either. I don't know because I know when Andrew goes on the whatever podcast, he goes for like 8 hours. But I have till 3 o'clock. So I got 4 hours for you guys. And and about if you guys start coming on, I uh I don't have supers yet. So because I don't have 1,000 subscribers or 500 subscribers, I think you need to have that many to get supers. I don't even care about the supers. So I just like doing YouTube. It just feels like I'm talking to myself. It's just quiet in here. Less than 6 minutes. Oh crap! I need to put shoot. All right. feel so dehydrated. Excuse me. I think they should have made Dave Smith the moderator or Ian Carroll because Andrew picked all the stipulations. He even called Candace out, saying, "I'll give you 100,000." I think then 150. Brian from the whatever podcast, Brian Atlas, or he's like, "I'll do 300,000." And I said Candace should have done a mill. I would be like, I want a mill, a million. But I'm worried because Andrew is that good. I can't. Yeah, he flipped out in the Charlie thing. I seen that, but I've seen Andrew debate 15 people at once, and he always just like, I'm sorry, he does beat them. The only debate I seen him that I think he lost in was with Owen Strife. Uh, Owen, I think, beat him. How he said Big E never. Yeah, okay. What about the survivors? What about Virginia DeFrey? Hmm? I can't. I can't stand these mega Zionists, man. I'm America first. I'm not for. I'm not for another country first. I love my country. I am a patriot. I am. I even said I'd take a bullet for Trump if I had to before the war in Charlie. Well, right after Charlie, I said if it was like a J.R. Butler, I would. Like, but not now. No. I'd walk away. I'd be like, you're on your own, homie. But no, I can't. I even voted for him too. That's what I never voted before that, and I will never vote again. Unless if it's our dream team. Tucker Carlson as president, Thomas Massey as vice president, and Secretary of State, our boy Joe Ken. I think that'd be our dream team. That'd be awesome. Can you imagine Massey as vice president with the big, the, you know what? I bet he could get it all unclassified and all that. I just need to stop talking about that. Come on, one more minute and 30 seconds. That is a good thumbnail, though. My thumbnail's okay. That thumbnail's sick. With Charlie in the back. I miss him. I miss his voice. I don't know what has gone into. What's her name? I'm not even saying her name. After my brother died, I died 3 months before him in jail. I didn't leave my house for years. And my cousin died a year after that. Two people I was closest to. And I couldn't leave my house for like 2 years, 3 years, like unless I was going to the gym. That's the only place. Oh man, I'm nervous. Oh, come on. I think it's coming up, guys. And if you could please give them all a like, subscribe, comment. Uh Candace, hers is the Candace Owens show. Patrick Bet David is the PBD show podcast. And Andrew Wilson is under his is the Crucible, his show. Well, his thing. So please give them all a subscribe, and please, if you could like mine too. Crap, I left my kitchen light on. Shit. I could see it through my camera. Dude, let me double check if this has to be it. I guess we're still waiting. I see the chat on PBD's podcast going. Like I said, I think Dave Smith or Ian should have been a moderator, or Dave Smith should have been like another moderator because Andrew got to pick all the stipulations. And when he's the one calling Candace out, we're going to see the two best debaters besides Tucker. You know who I would want to see debate? Andrew and Tucker. That'd be a good one. I was never into debates either when I was younger. I never was. I always thought it was kind of not the G word. But after Charlie died, I don't know. I really started liking watching debates. Come on, Patrick. It's 11:02. I'm just messing around, guys. And yeah, who do you got winning the debate in the chat? And then I don't know if I said about the supers. I don't know if I was on mute. I don't think I could get them because you had to have up to 500 subscribers or 1,000, I believe. And I only have like under 150. I don't know how people get thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers. That's crazy. I would love that. That'd be amazing. But I could imagine like that getting all those subscribers. I bet that would be a lot of me. I'd be like, shit. This is starting soon. I thought it started at 11, Patrick. Well, it's at 11 o'clock on the East Coast. I'm on the East Coast. Candace, she always glows. She's always glowing. Even when she isn't pregnant, she's always glowing. Like, she's so beautiful. George, you're a lucky dude. You're a lucky man. And to have her as a wife, she is a freaking dragon. And I think she was Charlie's only real friend. I wish I would have met him. Everybody's trying to say he's he faked it. I said that in the beginning, but I said he pulled a Tupac, but I don't think. Why would he let a young kid that's brilliant, has an amazing GPA like my niece? She's going to be a forensic scientist. I said, if anything ever happens to me, you better find my killer. Just mess around. But she's so smart, and that's like how Tyler is. And he never fired a weapon. He never even fired a weapon. Even Lance said he never mentioned Charlie once. I think he has more to do with it than Tyler. He looked like he was doing the Michael Myers the kid that was Michael Myers in Halloween Rob Zombie retake. I don't know if this it's supposed to happen at what, Candace's house, I believe. I wish my chat was like PBDs right now. Just keep going. Yeah, I don't know how long this debate is, but I had till like 3:30, and I had to stop because I had to go because I house sit in my aunt and uncle's house because they're on vacation for their dogs. And my dog's over there too. And I wasn't doing it on my laptop. I'm always a bitching about people not liking, and I didn't even like it. One sec. I need to go grab another drink before this shit starts. There's 30,000 people watching on the PBD podcast. I was gonna say I better not. Okay, I can see my thing on my microphone. Somebody wrote in the chat if it's canceled. It better not be canceled. I don't even know why YouTube wasn't letting me go live. It was not letting me go live for some reason. So I came on StreamYard. I love StreamYard. I love using this. But it's a lot of money a month to have StreamYard. Like I get you could do a lot of stuff with it. It's like $40 a month. If I when I start getting supers or anything, oh, why is there a little like the and guys, you can let me know how I'm doing too. Like you guys can write in the chat. Like I'm not gonna flip out on yous. I do want yous to watch. I want to talk to Candace about the BH. I'm not saying his name. The head of security. He said Charlie. He was on top of Charlie in the car, but the seat was so damn far back. How are you hanging out of the car? The only way you would be hanging out of the car, be hanging out of the car, if Charlie was trying to up kick you. A up kick is when you're all flat and you go up, like you go up like that. That's an up kick, like a front kick if you were standing in your stance. And that's the only way you'd be falling out if Charlie was trying to get you off him. And if he is going to sue Candace, you have discovery. Just like with Brigitte Crone, you have discovery. She's going to have to prove that she's a mom. If I was her kid, if that was my mom I'd be like, "I want a picture now of me pregnant, of you pregnant of me or my brother or my sister." I'm like, "I want a picture now." But how Donald Trump said she was prettier than Candace. You literally do have dementia, don't you? Diaper Dawn. Patrick, what's going on, homie? Thought it was supposed to start at 11. Probably getting stuff together. Because Andrew had to have 5 different people with him. And even Candace is like, you can even have a rapper size entourage with you. What are you, 50 Cent and G Unit? Oh, Andrew, he's going to attack every one of her points. That's what he does. He's going to attack your claim because he has the burden of proof of evidence. What, engraved brand new bullets? That's all they have. And me, or the lady at the trial, she said that the bullet was too messed up or something. Uh, I think that's when I was watching Nate's channel, Bahala VFT, and Trigger Smart, Matt from Trigger Smart. I was gonna say, why is my thing off? Oh, 1,000 people just went off because I think because I'm watching their chat on my other screen. There was over 30,000, and now it's down to like 28,000. Like 2,000 just went off. No, it just went up a little bit more. Man, by the time they come on, I'll have to leave. Shit. I wish I had one of my ultras in here. I'm worried Andrew might win. Don't hate me for saying that. It's like just like fights. I like I people always like yell at me like because I'll say like with and Connor, I said put the pressure against him like Nate did, put him up against the cage, smother him, and Dustin starts doing what I say, and I'm yelling at the TV at my work, and I'm like throw that overhand, and boom, he throws it, and they turn around and look at me like, how did you know that? How did you know what he was going to do before he even did it? I'm like, I just seen it. That's what Nate did. My next video will be on my favorite martial artist, Michael John White. I have all of his fight scenes like written down because you can't really do music, other people's music in your videos, or it's copywriting. And I'm not copywriting anybody. I hope they're not gonna be like, "Oh, we gotta do this another day." That's gonna suck. Everybody's just waiting here. And how when Candace says, "I want the payment for debating," and Andrew's like, "Well, I want 500,000 too." Like, dude, you already you already called her out. She said yes, and you're making all these stipulations after. It's like, homie, like I would have said, I was telling Candace, say a mill. Like they're using TPUSA's money, the donor money. I know it. Ben Shapiro's probably like, here you go. Here you go, Andrew. Here's all the money. Go get her. Go get her. Little Benny boy. Little man syndrome. I just think he's so tiny when he was standing on the table at the Daily Wire when Candace was, I don't know, she was on the whatever podcast, doing the debate, what after Charlie did it on the whatever podcast, and he got up on the table and he started like stomping his feet like a little kid, and I think that's when Candace was like, "Oh, wonder if Charlie would he be thinking right now?" Like, if he was actually here, he'd be like, "Man, all these people are fighting over me." But you know what? Uh, it brought the left and the right kind of more together. Uh, we're not kind of at each other's throats anymore, and I think that's a good thing. I think we should be working together more. Like it's literally the elites, the administration, and the politicians versus us. There's way more of us. I'm just saying than you. And we have something to fight for. You don't. We have women and children to fight for. We will always win. See, if Candace would have been running it, it would have been right on time. Andrew's probably like bitching in the background. Oh no, it's gotta be like this. It's gotta be this. I I used to really like Andrew. I used to really like him, but when he goes on stream and say, "Give me all your money," and he has on the bottom the goal for like the one day I was on his stream and it said $10,000 for that day he wanted. Like, you wonder why you lose viewerships because people are just not gonna want to watch you. Just and he's asking money for the debate. It's like Barron's like, quit whining. And she said yes. Yeah. The one day I asked Barron, I'm like, why did Gary call you a Fed? And in the chat, he's like, Johnny, I'm not a Fed, I swear. I'm like, dude, I don't care if you were. Like, but why'd he say you were a Fed? But I think Gary's a Fed. And when Nate came out, Valhalla, our boy VFT, when he's like, we could give the money to Erica Kirk. I have a combat gym in my house. Like, he has his own gym, I guess, Nate. I want to do a live with all those guys. It'd be so much fun. It'd be so much fun. Guys, come on. I only have till 3 o'clock. 3:30, I could push it, but I want to know why YouTube wasn't letting me go live. Man, I thought they would have this shit ready. Well, Andrew has to have a camera crew with him too. I'm sorry to say this, Andrew. You know you became bigger after Charlie passed. You became more relevant when he passed. And I even said before, I said, you need to be up there at the top with the other people that can debate. Like, because you were that good. But if Trump would tell them to get on their knees to do something, they would. Not me.
Okay, so we're officially live. Candace, Andrew, good to sit down here with you, talking to you guys about the conversation that I think started with you being on Joe Rogan when you said, hey, I'm offering $300,000. And for the audience watching this, you have to know when you see this final product, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind closed doors. There was still communication till midnight, even some of the stuff this morning. Like it's like you're trying to sell a company. It's the last 24 hours that the deal doesn't work out, but kudos to the both of you guys that you made it work. The topic of discussion today, how this got prompted is, Andrew, you said there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson shot and killed Charlie Kirk. And Candace, your position was he's a patsy. Tyler Robinson is a patsy. So, of course, we'll talk about a lot of different things, but that's kind of how the whole thing got started. For the audience watching, I think this is truly for three different people. Number one is anybody out there that loves Charlie, respects Charlie, his legacy, what he did. We have a lot of love and admiration for what he did. He changed the lives of many people, young men, young women. You worked with him for many years. You guys were friends. You've said a lot of good things about Charlie, respectful towards him. You guys may have disagreed on some things, but you had a lot of respect for him. The second audience is the folks out there, you that's watching this. And so for you, You've been wanting something like this to take place, and kudos for Andrew for coming out and saying, "Hey, I want to have this conversation," and for Candace to accept it. So you have the ability to say, "I agree," "I disagree," comment, do all the stuff that you're doing online, and if you want to see more of these things, any of the 3 channels, subscribe to them: the Candace Show, the Crucible. I'm sure some of the people from Crucible are watching as well, and the PBD Podcast. The more you subscribe to this, the more we're able to deliver these types of conversations to you. And last but not least, it's about the 2 of you. My goal is to speak as little as possible. 99% of the time, it'll be you guys speaking, and the audience will be able to see it. If I jump in, just so everybody knows, on the back end, both have agreed. In the back, there's 3 people representing Andrew and 3 people representing Candace to do fact checking. So at any point, if somebody makes a claim, the other can say, "Can we fact check this?" I can jump in and say, "Fact check this." Even the folks in the back can say, "Fact check this." So it is a very fair conversation that we're having here. And so with that being said, kudos to Michael Knowles. Your name was mentioned a lot. You missed out right now. The last 10 minutes, we talked about you. There's a lot of love and respect here mutually from both parties, all 3 of them here. And then, of course, the great Joe Rogan that started this conversation. And he also volunteered, but it ended up being this format that we have here today. So with that being said, Andrew, your claim is overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. Opening statements, opening comments.
Sure. And what I mean by overwhelming is I just find it very convincing. That's I think that's what most people mean when they say overwhelming evidence. So I have a brief opening statement. On September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was murdered. Many of you already know a lot about the events which occurred after Kirk's death. You remember the ghoulish laughter, celebrations, and madness we saw from leftists all over, from TikTok invasions, debates, posts on social media, destruction of memorials, and things like this. Within weeks of Kirk's death, a cottage industry began to form, peddling various alternative theories on how he died. What special interest may have killed him, what nations were involved, and was our own government one of them? Because this was the first nationwide traumatic event in Gen Z's lifetime, the demand for answers was severe and palpable. The leading theory from the conspiracy verse is that Israel worked with the United States government to murder Charlie Kirk. Within a day or 2 of Kirk's death, Ian Carroll claimed that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, and the conspiracy caught on like wildfire. This theory was built on one misleading piece of evidence, that in his final days, on or around September 8th, Charlie sent a text message reading, "Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause." This was sent in the context of a platforming dispute regarding Tucker Carlson. From this scintilla of misleading information, it was speculated that Israel killed Charlie Kirk because he would have successfully opposed the Iranian war. Now, that's a fun theory, and who doesn't like a good, fun conspiracy theory? I like them. But there is no evidence that Israel actually killed Charlie Kirk. And if Candace has some, I'd like her to actually show it to me. I'm open to suggestions, but to date, there hasn't been any. There is, however, tons of evidence that a leftist killed Charlie Kirk, just as Charlie feared they would. I believe Charlie Kirk, and I have the receipts. No, I didn't have a dream where he came to me and told me that the left killed him. No, he didn't come to me a dream and say, Candace Owens betrayed him. That never happened. In fact, I don't need dreams of any kind because I hold in my possession never before seen messages from Charlie Kirk to his security team on September 9th, 2025. I'm going to share the message with you today, which is the first time this information's ever been publicly revealed. On September 9th, Charlie's security team wrote to him, yes, law enforcement has been fully supportive and agreed to a security plan and posture. Tomorrow's event will be covered by both my team and the campus PD. If additional support is required, patrol units will be available. I have 11 on site. Charlie responded with this, okay, great. Remind them that they are there for one person's security only, because I'm somewhat worried the left is trying to kill me. That was a message sent September 9th. Whatever could he have meant by that? Well, I think he meant exactly what he said, that he was worried the left was going to try to kill him. Now, we'll discuss this more later on in the debate, and maybe I have more never-before-seen evidence that exposes just how wrong and, in my opinion, idiotic many of these conspiracy theories have been. But that's what happens when you rely on what's called the evidence of the gaps. In other words, They don't have evidence. They seem to just make up evidence. And what did they make up? Well, in my opinion, kind of whatever lined the pockets. And I think it's ghoulish to profit off of the death of a good man. But we came here today to debate. And so let's get to it. The debate topic today is one, my belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. And two, Candace's belief that there's overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson was a patsy and didn't kill Charlie Kirk. In sum, the audience is going to decide who has more evidence supporting their theory. My theory is that the state is correct that Tyler Robinson is the killer, at least based on evidence so far. And Candace's theory that Tyler Robinson is not the killer and he's a patsy set up by the feds. To be clear, this is not a question of reasonable doubt. If it was reasonable doubt, and that's all it was, and that's all Candace was proffering, I wouldn't even be here having the debate with her. It's fair to have doubts, as a trial has yet to occur, and the state hasn't even begun to try to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. But Candace makes a more forceful claim. She claims that there's more evidence that Tyler is not guilty of murder and was set up as a patsy than there is for the state's case. And I just think that that's absurd. And she will not be able to demonstrate that in any way. In fact, she has almost no real evidence at all of her theory, whereas my theory is supported by compelling witness testimony, physical evidence, multiple confessions, all of which are independently compelling, but which are even more convincing as each piece of evidence corroborates the others. You'll notice the term overwhelming was included in both theories. This is because Candace demanded I defend my use of that term, which I think is fair, in describing the evidence against Tyler Robinson. She, on the other hand, only wanted to defend her theory as merely viable. That is, until I showed her clips in which she said she believed the evidence of her theory, that Tyler Robinson's a patsy, was supported by overwhelming evidence. Only then did she agree to defend that position. Regardless, we're both defending the claim that there's overwhelming evidence on our side, so it's worth defining that term. When I say the evidence against Robinson's overwhelming, all I'm saying is that I mean that as of right now, I find it very convincing. I see almost no evidence at all, only speculation on verified claims and suggestions of things that could merely be hypothetically possible. Dreams, vibes, feelings, things like this. Almost done, by the way. I have no problem defending the state's case and welcome Candace bringing up any challenges she would like. But if I'm honest, the reason I was willing to pay the $300,000 for this debate was to finally have a chance for someone to demand Candace be held accountable for the unbelievable theories and claims she's been making. Candace's investigation is indistinguishable from a leftist operation. She couldn't be doing more damage to the right if she were trying. She uses her considerable platform to relentlessly attack one of the most influential conservative outreach organizations for young people, and she's making a mockery of the online right-wing commentary class. She's harming Republicans in an election year by dividing them. She's attacking the very organization Charlie spent his life building, and she's attacking the people he loved, including his wife. And it cost me $300,000, but today I hope that she finally answers for some of that.
Thank you, Andrew. Candace?
Did you get it out of your system?
I did.
Okay, great. Well, I'm not going to waste time with the preamble because I think I just want to get to the substance of the debate, and we'll just speak to the audience. I've obviously had an audience since we've been covering this case. People know that there was a personal friendship between me and Charlie, and diminishing the pursuit of something that makes sense regarding what happened on September 10th. By throwing it to this is just people who are conspiracy theorists. These are people who are just trying to generate clicks. I don't think that people should be satisfied by that. I want people to remember that it's important to think. We've been lied to by the government a great many times over, just the last couple of years, if you just think of the things that we've learned about our government. And I do want to say this, what's been the most disturbing element, I think, for everyone is that not only does the narrative not make any sense, which I'm going to demonstrate, I don't need to waste time with the preamble going through the points or trying to insult you or pretending that I've been running a podcast saying it's just dreams and vibes like I'm Miss Cleo. And that's the reason why it's taking so many influencers. It looks like $1 billion industry of influencers to dispute everything Candace says. Is not because I'm on my platform saying I had a dream last night. I don't think I think that diminishes you as an argument. Obviously, we have presented a lot of evidence. You just presented a text message and said, this is evidence. Well, that's how this entire thing began. You're talking about how Israel got into the conversation. It was because immediately after Charlie died, one of the first things we saw was this push to make us all think and remember how much he loved Israel. It's because the prime minister of Israel, who's fighting like a 27 front war, felt that he needed to come do a little mini tour and to be strangely to state that I did not kill Charlie Kirk, when nobody was having that thought that I can remember. Nobody was going, I wonder if Bibi Netanyahu killed Charlie Kirk. And then we had a round of influencers who lied and said Charlie was not changing on Israel, that he wasn't having any disagreements regarding that topic, that the day he died, he just loved Israel so much. And I demonstrated via a text message, which you just mentioned, and you're now contextualizing and pretending it was just about Tucker Carlson, which is not true. It was a part of a broader shift that Charlie was having over the last, I would say, actually on your show, it began since October 7th, which is when I began asking myself more questions about Israel as well. And so, yeah, when all of these things happen in the immediate aftermath, and then I drop a text message after everyone is denying that, Tucker Carlson then comes out and confirms the conversations that he had with Charlie. Megyn Kelly then comes out and confirms the private conversations that she had with Charlie. People then begin to ask a reasonable question, which is, why are we lying about this? If they were forthcoming with that and they had said, hey, yeah, Charlie was starting to ask questions. I think after October 7th, it's reasonable that people are starting to re-examine our relationship with Israel. We wouldn't be here today. But it has been lie after lie after lie, debunk after debunk after debunk. Yes, I did share that I had a dream that Charlie was betrayed. It's not a dream anymore. It's a reality. I look at what the organization has become, the people that they are partnering with, the lies that they are telling, the extraordinary people that they're sending out to say that I hadn't speak to Charlie since 2018, and it begins to look like a conspiracy. And just as a historical fact, that entire term was created by the CIA to gaslight people after the assassination of JFK. So it's not exactly one that makes me nervous. Like calling somebody a conspiracy theorist is essentially saying that they demand further answers and they're not accepting the Fed slop. So I'm grateful that you came today. I don't need to, like I said, take cheap shots and discuss your manner of debate or your strategy. And I'm also grateful that you shared that you had that text message today, because everybody watching knows that I have been demanding not a debate, just an open conversation with Turning Point USA. They should be here. It shouldn't be you in that chair. It should be the person that took Charlie's place, maybe Erica Kirk, maybe Andrew Colbert. He's a spokesperson. And rather than doing that, they send us another influencer. So let's see how it goes.
Just out of curiosity, are you between 0 to 100? What is the likelihood that you think Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk and killed him?
Based on the evidence right now, I don't know. I'd say 75, 85%.
Candace?
0%.
0%.
I'm at 0.
So
with what we've seen in terms of the evidence, I'm at 0%.
So not only, that maybe somebody was behind him as a patsy influencing him. You're not even saying that he didn't even shoot Charlie Kirk.
Right. I would, if you said, was he involved that day, as
Right.
I have consistently said on my platform, I would say, yes, he was. I don't know what role he played, but as the shooter, 0%.
Do you have any evidence for it?
For what? My percentage?
The fact that he didn't shoot and kill Charlie Kirk.
Yes, which I'm hoping we're going to get to all of the evidence that he feels that he has. I mean, I'm not even convinced that Charlie was shot from the rooftop on Losi that day, based on the evidence that has been.
Do you think he was shot?
I do not think that Charlie was shot from a 30-06 from Losi.
But just shot at all.
I don't know. I think that a projectile hit Charlie, and I'm open to other people's presentations, but I have not seen any compelling evidence that Charlie was shot by a 30-06.
Can we see maybe if we're going to have an olive branch to each other, if maybe we can establish what we consider the facts of the case to be first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you're not sure if he was actually shot. You're open to alternative theories.
He was definitely hit with a projectile of some description. If we're talking about was he shot from a gun, a 30-06, I would say definitively no.
Okay.
It defies common sense to think that he had a Superman neck. And even if he did have a Superman neck, which has been demonstrated, I think actually recently a YouTuber actually set up Spalhala steel cages and shot it and it went through. So under no circumstance will I.
So at least not a 30-06.
Definitively not. A 30-06 from Losi, 150 feet. No.
But you're not necessarily closing off the avenue that he could have been shot at all.
With maybe a smaller
caliber. Okay. And then there's some things that I'm going to make concessions on that I do think we need more answers on, and I'm fine with that. And we can get to those things as well. The other thing is in the timeline, one of the things that we dispute, I think, on the timeline is that you think that Robinson drove hours away to a steakhouse in
Yes.
the timeline. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the compelling evidence that you think you have there?
I spoke to the owner of the restaurant,
Mhm.
and have seen the receipt. I know the conversation that I had, and I think it's enough that it will be presented. Obviously, if this goes to trial, but yes, I do believe that he was in Panguitch, which is near his grandparents' home.
Did he give you an unedited copy of that receipt?
I have seen an unedited copy of that receipt. It was not given to me from the owner. But I want to, before we get into like all the timeline stuff, I want to address what you think is evidence so we can keep this on par with what your claim is. Since
Well, I think that that's a piece of evidence that's in dispute, and that's why I'm.
but
Because if
we're
not
trying to get
establishing
to
the
whether there's
timeline.
overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson did this.
Yeah,
So
if you
whether
want to
then
use
starting
the first,
with
if you want to use the first part of that for the internal critique,
yeah,
for you,
we
that's
should go
fine.
over the actual
Okay,
evidence that we
so
feel.
The first reason that I think it's compelling evidence is that Tyler Robinson's rifle was found near the crime scene. So I would consider that to be very good evidence. And also the fact of the matter is that I dispute this claim that a 30-06 could not have made this wound. I think that that's absurd. 150 grain Remington core lock absolutely could shatter when it hits the neck of any human being. When you say that there's some steel neck and it's a smaller caliber, you have to make a counter explanation. Why wouldn't a smaller caliber also go through bone?
It could. I didn't say it can't.
Right, exactly. So if that's the case, then ammunition is going to be the critical key here. And if we have frangible ammunition, which we do in this case, a flex tip round, well, I'm sorry, not a flex tip, a soft point round from 150 grain Remington core lock, that's just a small jacket that goes around the actual lead piece. This thing could have split apart in air for all we know, but definitely upon impact. And we have the medical examiner who confirms this in a summary. My team can bring that up, the summarization, which means he would have to be a part of some kind of conspiracy as well.
Okay. So just to start with your point about saying that the gun was found near him, near Losey Center, or I guess off in the woods. That gun, did you watch the testimony? Did you watch the preliminary hearing?
Yeah, we covered it live. Yeah.
Okay. So forgetting what the summary of the medical report was, did you watch the testimony that was given by the Caitlin Oliver, the ATF woman, Samantha Carner, any of those people who went into the science of?
Yes, I recall. You're talking about
the bullet analysis.
Yeah, when they went into the DNA.
Okay. So that's kind of the most relevant part.
Okay.
I'm not denying, I've never denied on my platform or anywhere else that a gun owned by Tyler Robinson was found near the crime scene, right? That doesn't remove, if you think somebody set up as a patsy, you could take a gun out of this room right now and you could walk out and plant it in the woods near a crime scene.
I agree.
That's not convincing evidence to me.
I concur with the fact that that's a possibility.
So I think have said on a platform that you were a gunsmith. Okay. And for how many years?
Many, many years.
For many years. You also said that you were an Army sniper.
I wasn't a sniper in the Army.
Okay.
And I never said that.
Sorry, your wife tweeted that you were an Army sniper.
Yeah, I don't know. Like 15 years ago, she said something.
Does it change 15 years later?
She said that it was colloquial. So
Army sniper is a colloquial term?
Yeah, I was never an Army sniper.
Okay. What did you do in the Army? Did you teach this? She then corrected it and said you taught rifles in the Army?
No, I didn't teach rifle. No, I taught rifles as a private citizen.
Okay.
And I was an NRA instructor for many, many, many years alongside my gun shop.
As with your expertise, when she gave testimony on the stand, Samantha Carner, that there was dust and there was debris that was found in the gun barrel.
Yep.
And then when we had the person who, and this was, I believe, Caitlin Oliver, who explained painfully about the DNA, the prints.
Well, let's start with a point at a time.
I'm not done. You said something, so I'm going to finish my thought, right?
You don't want to do a point in time?
No, well, sure. If you want to respond to,
well,
I want you to respond to 2 points.
debris.
I want you to start with 2 points.
Okay.
Dust and debris in the gun barrel.
Yeah.
Secondly, the fact that there were 5 sets of prints, 5+ actually by the end of the testimony, 5 sets of prints for which we already had the woman who worked for the FBI forensics testify that above 2 prints, if you're taking a sample, it's no longer a science, right? She testified that when they took the sample of what was on the trigger, they saw 5+ prints. And among those 5+ prints, Tyler Robinson's was the most degraded. So I would like you to explain how Tyler Robinson's prints could be the most degraded when she said, actually, you could have DNA on something that you've touched. You could have DNA on something that you've never touched. And to get DNA degradation, they've looked at pieces, items 20, 40 years on that don't have degradation. Yet Tyler Robinson's prints, amongst 5+ other prints, were the most degraded on that weapon.
Yeah. So let's get into all three of the claims. First, with debris. When it comes to debris, firing a rifle doesn't always blow the debris out of the barrel.
Okay.
So
You think there could be debris and dust.
Yeah.
He just fired the weapon.
Sure.
Okay.
Not only that, he left it in a forest.
Portion of her testimony
Mhm.
where she was explaining how they got elimination samples from the home. And she named Matt Robinson, Amber Robinson, and Lance Twiggs as the elimination samples that she was using. And so she explicitly said, some of them, so we can assume 2 out of the 3,
Mhm.
were their prints were found on the gun. She explicitly named Matt Robinson as someone who had prints on the gun, and then said there were 5 people that they had taken that sample from. And again, what's also relevant here is the earlier testimony, which came from the FBI forensics analyst. I believe it was on day 2, where she said that when you're using those mixtures and those samples and you get up to 5+, it's really hard to make any sort of a determination. So both of those things are relevant. If you can't explain why his prints are the most degraded and you're saying he is the shooter, it's not really a so what. It's an open-ended question that people have a right to pursue. It's not a conspiracy. It's actually proof of my claim that there's evidence that he was set up as a patsy.
That wouldn't prove anything about him being a patsy.
It said it's evidence to support the claim that he could have been set up as a patsy.
So this is why I said earlier, so what? Because even if it's the case, this doesn't have an explanation for it yet. That doesn't actually give you any evidence in your corner for Tyler Robinson being a patsy.
Okay,
hang on. I didn't cut you off, right? You would need to actually explain how this would demonstrate Tyler Robinson. This is tied into to Robinson being a patsy.
Mhm.
Are you claiming that these fingerprints were Lance Twiggs or that he had any DNA there?
I'm saying that it could be Matt Robinson, it could be Amber Robinson. That sort of information is going to come out during the trial.
How would that tie into the idea that he's a patsy?
Yes,
though?
because if his is the most degraded prints and the information that I shared on my platform is true, that this gun was given to Tyler Robinson as an heirloom. I had conversation with members of the Robinson family, Twiggs family, both of them. You know, like I said, we're not just dreaming. And if we're having those conversations and they told me that that gun was only given to Tyler Robinson because it was a family heirloom. Okay, so it was his grandfather's gun or great grandfather's gun. I don't remember the difference. I don't remember which one it was. And so he got it because he's the firstborn. So, but he's not much of a shooter, is what I was told. And so he has this because he inherited it, essentially. So if I get something from my grandpa and I put it up on the shelf and I own this, you could see that could be.
How do we get to the patsy part?
You don't let me ever get to the end of the sentence. So how could we get to the patsy part
Okay,
if I can't get to the end of the sentence?
Patiently till we get to
so
the
that could be a
part.
reasonable explanation as to why there was dust in the barrel, because he doesn't often shoot this weapon and he is indeed a fisher. And it could also be a reasonable explanation for why we have Matt Robinson's prints on this. Obviously, Lance Twiggs, even if he has prints on things, they live together. That doesn't really mean anything. But that could demonstrate that somebody took his weapon and put it somewhere. His prints are the most degraded. Somebody else's prints, there's more presence of somebody else's prints. And that could demonstrate that somebody is taking items from his house and putting it into various places. But it also could
demonstrate nothing. So the problem that you have here is that this is pure conjecture.
No,
this is not evidence that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. It's only evidence that you have conjectured up that, well, if it's the case that these are the more degraded prints, then therefore that means must be patsy because dad's fingerprints on gun.
I didn't say must be patsy.
Describe how this actually links in to Robinson being. Is a summary, by the way. Left common cartoid on the left internal external jugular. Obliterated the left side C27 vertebrae. I'm just saying from your inference, how do we get to Patsy?
This is how you got to shooter. The Tyler Robinson did it
No,
the same way that
I
you
didn't
got to
get
Tyler
just
Robinson.
shooter from that.
Yes, you did. You again, this is something important. So we should pull up a fact check about what the 1102 Utah and under their constitution for the sake of a preliminary hearing.
Yeah.
They do not have to have hard evidence. They don't have to.
Sorry, guys. My shit just completely shut off on me. Like my computer just completely shut down. I'm sorry.
To put people on the
I
trial,
agree they
swear
don't
them
have
in.
to.
But no, that's why the entire hearing was basically hearsay. Officer Bagley
But
was
not
saying
all of it, like I said.
the overwhelming
And
majority.
again, no
I mean,
dispute.
outside of the one
But
that you don't want to give. Please don't cut me off.
Though.
Outside of that is what's in dispute. It
It's
means
not.
that your entire brand of saying you don't have evidence falls apart when the entire preliminary hearing is based off of hearsay. In fact, Lance's testimony before they had about an hour debate, actually maybe it was more than an hour debate before he sat, and they said this is not going to be allowed. You wouldn't even be allowed to do this. We'd be able to cross-examine him. The questions that they're asking Lance are all leading. And what did he say? Well, I'm the magistrate under Utah Constitution, 1102. It is my job to allow all of this so we can see if the state has enough here that we can then move to a trial, which will then they would not allow this stuff. They would say we get to cross-examine Lance. Lance
But
just
you're
can't
arguing
willy-nilly
things I'm not
say,
disputing.
but the entire substance of your argument is that people can't infer off of evidence. That's what you're saying
it's
to
not.
me. When you say, Candace,
Here,
you
I'll
can't
give you
talk
the
about the degraded
argument
prince, which is a fact.
Yeah, I'm not
and then
saying
infer
that.
off of that.
Didn't say that.
Tyler could have been a patsy.
You're just
literally
making stuff up. So here's what the position is. I'm asking this.
I'm saying that I think you. Let's pull that up. Let's pull that up. I am doing exactly what the state did. I am looking at a piece of evidence, and I am saying.
But you're not showing me how you get there.
Can you describe to the audience what
yes.
1102
So
means?
just so everybody who's watching this at home understands what I am saying, even if he doesn't. What Andrew is arguing is that I don't have the right to extrapolate from a fact like
just making it up. Just purely making it up. I'm asking based on
Andrew. Can I show my evidence? You just showed yours. Reliable hearsay.
You'll get a chance.
Reliable hearsay in criminal preliminary examinations. The entire preliminary hearing that you just saw was on the basis of reliable hearsay. And what that means essentially is the people who are making the statements can just say, Patrick told me that he did this on Monday. Patrick's not here. And that is, they can allow that into the hearing. That's just because it's just meant to be probative. And so it's the state saying, here's what we have inferred. So you are allowed to take a piece of evidence and then you are allowed to infer off of that evidence. Okay. Case in point, that's a demonstration that's a demonstration of what I just did. I said the prints were the most degraded off of Tyler Robinson. And from that, what I am inferring is that it's plausible that Tyler Robinson was set up.
That doesn't, that's the point in contention.
That's not a point in contention. That's
the point in contention.
It's not a point in contention. If you're saying it's a point,
it is the point in contention.
It's not the point in contention. I'm telling you that was what the entire hearing allowed for. So the evidence that he is describing,
we're asking you
that he is using to argue his case is all based on inference, not fact.
Great.
Inference, not fact. So what they are inferring off of the facts.
So again, we're going to take this and I'm just going to even grant it because it's irrelevant. I'm asking how you get to the inference that even if you dispute that piece of evidence, that means Patsy. I'm looking for the logical chain for how you get to that inference.
What I am telling you is it's the exact same way that when you tweeted, I think that this evidence is overwhelming. When they say that looks like Tyler Robinson's car, he drives a similar car. Okay. They are inferring that that's Tyler Robinson.
Can you walk me through the inference so that I understand?
It's not a fact. It's not a fact. When you show a blurry image, which you kept citing that we have images.
I'm talking about your inference that the fingerprints, even if they're degraded, equals Patsy. How do you get that inference?
I didn't say it equals Patsy. I think it is enough evidence that it should be explored, which is exactly what this preliminary was in the inverse.
That's not what in dispute. What's in dispute is when you said, I'm using this as evidence that he could have been a Patsy. I'm asking, How do you get the inference to Patsy from that?
Because what I am saying is that it shows that somebody else had more DNA presence on that gun than Tyler Robinson did. So it is plausible, which is all they're doing. They're presenting plausibility based off of the facts.
Mhm.
Okay. It is plausible that somebody just took his gun and put it there. That's it.
Is there equally
That's how it works.
and is there equally 100 other plausible explanations?
I think that's the reason why most people are exploring when things don't make sense.
Got it.
So yes, at the beginning of that, this is how the court process works.
So
just so we're clear,
if
this
there's
is the
100 other
state's evidence
plausible
and they're inferring.
explanations, then Candace, why is it that we should go with this idea that it was a Patsy?
I'm not saying that we should go with the idea that it was a patsy. I am saying that there is.
Oh,
Just-
I thought that was the whole defense, your whole claim
No,
today.
my whole claim was that there is more evidence that he is set up as a patsy.
How does that equal evidence of Patsy?
I don't know how many times I can say this. Like I'm saying that I am using the exact same mechanism that you are
Mhm.
accepting for some reason in the Utah courtroom.
Yeah.
Right. To say, I'm going to look at the evidence and I'm going to infer an alternative theory. So you just saw the states and you're accepting it. And they have not presented any concrete facts. You listed on your own Twitter that what you found to be convincing was something that looked like his car pulled into the driveway, a blurry image.
No, I
The
didn't.
standard white guy coming up the steps that could literally be anyone.
This never happened.
Can
You
we
can
get a
fact-
fact
yeah,
check on
fact
that?
check
Can
it.
we pull up his
I
tweet
didn't-
where he goes over
I
the
didn't say
four?
that's what convinced me.
When you actually didn't say it's what convinced me, but you said
Right.
this is the evidence that you found to be overwhelming, and you named, I believe, actually 5 things. I think you said it was his car. You said it was.
Well, there's multitudes of things that I find.
You
to
just
be
said you didn't
compelling
say it, so we're going to
evidence.
get a fact check on that. You
Sure.
did.
Go ahead.
You said the blurry images coming up the steps. Quite literally, when
Mhm.
Officer Bagley testified, they talk
Yeah.
about when I'm talking about making inference. This is the most I thought was the most absurd testimony I've ever heard. And pardon me, it was actually David Hull. They asked him a question. How did you know the guy in the maroon shirt was the same as the guy that came up the stairs later that was wearing the American flag black shirt? And he said, they're wearing the same shoes.
Why is that absurd?
That's how you decided these two are the same people. Oh, wow. What a scientific. They're both wearing Converses. Okay. That's an absurd thing to say. That is not evidence that these are the same people if we're both wearing Converses. That was what he said. That's what flew on the
Okay,
stand.
but I still don't understand how that would be absurd. If
It's
somebody,
it's an absurd thing.
for instance, if somebody were to change their clothes but keep the same shoes on, wouldn't you utilize the shoes to try to track that person? If
The
they were changing
idea
their
that on a
clothes?
college campus, 2 people wearing this totally different outfits, but both wearing Converses can't happen is such an absurdity that I don't even need to argue that. I'm just going to let people deal. Why is it
Okay.
absurd? Just concede that point. Obviously, it's an absurd
I
thing
don't.
to say.
I'm not
I know
sure.
these are the
I'm
same
not sure
people
in
because they're both
context.
wearing Converse.
Yeah, I'm not sure if in context that's what happened. But
It
even
is.
if it
You
is,
can get a fact check on
but
it.
even if it is, again,
And it was
if
Hull.
we're utilizing inferences, whenever we're dealing with logic and we're dealing with making a logical inference, we're going to take the entire collaboration of evidence and then we're going to make inferences from that. You would do that with any type of logical proposition. Otherwise, you could never have a true or false claim.
You just told me I couldn't.
So
do
when
that.
that never happened. You're just making stuff up. So anyway, when we're talking about logical inferences, what I'm looking for is the logical inferences that you have that Tyler Robinson's a patsy based on the totality of evidence that you have.
We can keep going through your other evidence, but we should find his
Yes.
tweet where he lists the reasons that he was convinced.
So let's start with the 30-06. I think that's fine.
Your team's looking for. Do you remember how long ago that was?
The tweet of the 5. Did you delete it or no?
No,
Did
I
you
don't
delete
delete
tweets?
tweets.
Okay, cool. I just look for. He said
Unless I
it was his
misspell.
car. It was his. It was the car, and it was definitely the staircase photos, and it was when the trial was
Okay,
going
she
on.
has it. Perfect.
She
If you
has
get,
it.
if you got, Skylar has it. If you want to pull it up so we can
Fantastic.
see it.
Somebody said, so give me the clear evidence right here. I want you to provide it right here. All I heard from the investigator was, we believe this to be Tyler Robinson. Is belief something you go as a fact? You wrote the car pulling in. That's
Mhm.
a totally blurry image. Robinson getting out of it. You have no idea if that's Tyler Robinson.
Mhm.
The fact that he is seen 4 other times on camera, the fact being just a standard white boy with brown hair was seen walking up staircase. The DNA on the roof, we should discuss that. And on the screwdriver that he left behind, it's overwhelming, man.
Yeah, but that's not an exhaustive list.
Well, just so we're clear, you did tweet it.
but it's not an exhaustive.
Yeah,
well,
but just
you
5
said
seconds ago, you should concede.
You said I only said this one thing and said that was overwhelming. Actually,
That's not what I said.
it is. You could even pull
Patrick,
your
did
own
I say
clip.
that?
Can you fact check if that was said or not? I did not hear her say
So the
this.
thing that's funny here is we still aren't getting to any of these inferences. So
Why are you pivoting?
so
but
that-
just say
well,
you
I'm
were
not.
wrong.
I'm
It's cool
gonna-
to just say I was wrong. I did say it.
I'm not wrong. So back to the tweet aspect here. It was really funny. That's not an exhaustive list of why I find it.
I didn't say it was exhaustive. I just said you said it.
And on top of, well, no, you didn't. You said that I only said this one thing and then said based on that it's over. Well, I didn't. You didn't mention that I mentioned the screwdriver, DNA, all of these other things. You never mentioned any of that. So no, you're actually incorrect there. But on top of that, moving over to the actual evidence itself.
Are you
Yes, I'm okay. Anyway, back to the evidence
if you're
itself.
okay.
Yes,
actually, I'm glad you're asserting that you're okay. I wasn't worried about your health. I'm just saying that I just said you tweeted this. You said no, I didn't. We got a fact check, and now you're like just going to gaslight me and pretend that I said
there's no gaslighting.
It wasn't exhaustive. I never said that. I just said you did say this.
Zero gaslighting.
I didn't say you couldn't have said more, but I would like to address what you said in that tweet.
Time. If this is how you want to spend it interrogating my position, you can do it that way.
I'm just addressing what you asserted on your Twitter was like the hard evidence that convinced you was overwhelming. That's literally your debate
claim. That's not what you
claim.
said. That's not actually, in fact, what happened in that exchange. I was here for it.
So what's your position here?
Yeah, so my position is that based on all of the evidence, which has been demonstrated, at least all the evidence to my knowledge, that I am actually not seeing anything that's compelling as an alternative theory. I'm not seeing anything which is convincing me of something otherwise than what the state is presenting as evidence. That's my position. If that's what you're asking me.
So just going back to what you did actually tweet, is it fair for me to ask questions about that?
Is that the only tweet you're going to ask me about?
Well, we're addressing your claim that the evidence is overwhelming, and this is a tweet where you listed what you felt was overwhelming. I think that's fair,
but not
right? I feel like that's fair,
but not exhaustive. Just so you know.
And I never said it was exhaustive, even though you said I did.
Sure, whatever you want.
But yeah, so going back to that, all of that, as you say to me, well, Candace, why are you addressing and making inferences off of the testimony?
No, I never asked you why. You're making inferences. I asked you how, with the inference you made, you got to the conclusion.
Okay. So I would like to know how you got to the conclusion. And I'm just going to throw it right back at you because for some reason you permit yourself to do it. And that's what I'm demonstrating is that you permit yourself to do it. And then you say, when I do it, it's a conspiracy, right?
No.
How are you able to infer off of blurry staircase images that is Tyler Robinson?
Yeah. So in that particular case, what you do is you take that evidence, you combine it with other evidence. So it's not just that Tyler Robinson is seen in the staircase.
Why are you calling him Tyler Robinson in the staircase? That's what I want to get to.
Yeah, because I mean, we'll just use this. If you don't agree that that's Tyler Robinson, then you would just have to humor me. I think it is, so I'm using the name.
But why do you think it is? Because you make everybody, you call them conspiracy theorists. That's literally what I'm trying to explain to you.
Okay. So if you're asking for my inference, why I think it's Tyler Robinson is because Tyler Robinson said in his text messages, you'll be able to see me on security footage at the campus. Said it in his own messages. On top of that, Twigs, yes, you can pull them up if you want to fact check that. He did say.
Yeah, I would. I'm sorry. I actually think I really did miss that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't remember him saying you're going to see me in.
I'm paraphrasing,
but it was pulled that up.
Yeah, I think that's
by the way,
pull it up.
Twigs himself said that he had some maybe a tiny bit of doubt, but it sure looked like Tyler Robinson inside of this various surveillance footage that he saw.
So Lance. Sorry.
Hang on. So there's multiple reasons why it is that I believe that that's Tyler Robinson, not just because of blurry footage.
Did you have a dream? Just kidding.
No, it's because I combined multitudes of evidences.
Okay. So let's address those multitude of evidences. The first one we're working on a fact check on because I do not ever remember him tweeting. That's me in the staircase. I mean, or texting.
Didn't tweet it.
Texting that's me in the staircase. I think that I didn't
say that. I said I literally didn't. What I said is that he texted over, you'll be able to see me in footage at UVU. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said.
Yeah. Could we get a fact check on that? The second thing you said was Lance's testimony and actually what Lance says is I'm not 100%.
I agree.
But in terms of what he wears, again, me pointing out the absurdity, he wears Converses. He wears sneakers. If his boyfriend is not 100%, I'd like to understand why Andrew Wilson is overwhelmed by it. That's what I'm trying to get to. And lastly, I would like to remind you that Lance's statement would not be permitted. This was a huge part of the preliminary hearing, that they were leading. All the questions that were asked of him were leading, so they would be struck down at the actual trial. And also, I would like to remind you that he got use immunity for that. Use immunity.
I understand.
Which means that
happens, by the way, all the time in these cases.
And I'm wondering why it particularly happened for Lance in this testimony. And I would also like to point out that something that's remarkable about this, again, leaning to my perspective, that Lance has a lot more, which I have said many times, Lance has a lot more involvement than the feds are letting us know. I think more is going to come out
that either.
Because interviewed him
Yeah.
on September 11th. And then for whatever reason, just ahead of what was supposed to be slated as the preliminary hearing, which was initially supposed to be in May, they bring him back to do this interview, which in my opinion should have never been allowed. And I actually agree with the defense that it's a violation of his constitutional rights not to allow them to have cross-examined him. But I understand Utah 1102, do what you do. It's all hearsay. But to allow it in that way for him to just be able to also have use immunity, knowing that he's not going to get in trouble. He could literally get up there and lie about anything and he's not going to get in trouble because the use immunity was given to him in April, I believe. April 28th is when they gave that testimony to the defense. I think they shot it in like April 20th of 2026. That is not compelling to me for somebody who has use immunity to give a testimony and to say, I'm not really sure, but definitely like he wears jeans and stuff.
That's not what he said.
He did. Actually, you can get a fact check on that.
Yeah, that's
Skyler,
not,
I think
he
you
said
pulled
much
it up
more
if you
than
want
that.
to. So a couple things we have. We have Rule 801, Tyler's messages, that says it's not hearsay. But first, go to what Candace is asking about. Skyler, I think you have it. You just text me if you want to pull it up. You said you have the text. If we can put that up on the screen. Thank you.
It was me. Look at the pictures from the surveillance footage. It was me. Okay. I literally said to you, it's not an oof. I said, I didn't remember this. And I'm happy to have a fact check on that. Okay. I didn't call for the fact check saying you're wrong. I literally said, I don't remember that from the
Well,
time
I'm just saying to you, like, I'm trying to be concise for you.
And then also bring the 801 that you just said. What was the other one?
Yep. The 801, Tyler messages saying it's not hearsay. If you have that as well. There you go.
Wait, what are we saying? It's not hearsay.
Statements that are not hearsay. A statement that meets the following conditions is not hearsay.
It was hearsay. They said it in the trial.
Hang on.
Okay.
Is consistent with the declarant's testimony and the declarant denies having made the statement or has forgotten, or is consistent with the declarant's testimony and is offered to rebut the express implied charge that the declarant recently fabricated or acted in recent improper influence or motive in testifying. So then wouldn't that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
So the issue with his
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Would that mean that a bunch of this wasn't hearsay?
So the opposing party, which down the line, like I said, they talked about this for about an hour and a half, and they discussed how if Lance was in court and he was giving his first party, giving his testimony as the opposing party, whatever, all of this would be fine. They had an issue with how the questions were being asked and that they were not allowed to cross-examine him. So that is why his video testimony would not be accepted in the main trial. And what I said to you is this entire preliminary hearing is under Utah's 1102. So they are allowed to just use hearsay. And
no,
so the
you didn't
judge,
say
when
that.
he
You said most of it was hearsay, actually.
Yeah,
the
it
overwhelming
was.
majority.
Well, I mean, I'm leaning now into my opinion that some scientific aspects, which they kept asserting, like the federal rule 403 or 402, some of those parts were quite
Sounds
scientific.
like you're backtracking quite a bit.
No, I'm not backtracking at all. What do you feel like let me help you. Where do you feel like I'm backtracking? It literally was done under Utah's 1102.
Yeah, nobody disputed that.
Okay.
What the dispute was is whether or not most of it was overwhelmingly hearsay.
Yes,
is that the case?
It was. Yes, that's a fact. I'm not backtracking on that at all.
What are the things?
How many times did you, if you watch the preliminary hearing, it's like they constantly, I'm 1102, 1102, 1102, 1102, 1102. And the reason for that is because it's allowed. I'm not saying it's illegal. It's allowed at this stage, but I'm just reminding you that when you're going to sit across from someone and your claim is going to be, where is your hard evidence? This is what I heard and I agree with what I'm watching. You are watching the state put on a hearsay preliminary hearing, and all of those things are not going to be allowed, right? Even when they got into witness statements and things of that nature. There's a reason why they swear you in and they say, you swear us out the truth, the whole truth. Did you, write this statement? So it's the overwhelming majority of what you saw was hearsay because other people were representing other people's statements. They were saying they had conversations. We don't know where it came from, all allowed at this stage. Okay. But it's hearsay. So
but even a lot of that stuff may not fall under hearsay under what we just read, right?
But the evidence that you're speaking about, like when you say that we're going off vibes, you don't know Tyler Robinson. Okay. His boyfriend is not 100% it was him. So I'm going back to your points that you made that this was overwhelming evidence for you. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, overwhelming just means
you can't consider another option that there could have been another white guy wearing Converses on campus.
Yeah. Do you agree with me that I said that what overwhelming means to me is that it's just very convincing to me?
Yeah. And I find it to be completely unconvincing.
And that's fair.
Because
I understand that
I looked at those blurry photos that they presented and said, your statement on right now is that
Yeah.
He's wearing Converses, and he also like, that's just
But
crazy.
these
to
aren't
me.
the evidences that I find the most convincing.
Well, you said that in your Twitter.
That's not the only thing I've ever said on my Twitter about this case.
Right, but the question that was asked of you was pretty direct.
Yeah.
Right. What did you find
this
to
is
be?
not an exhaustive list of all the things
Well, that's
that I
not
find
what you said
convincing.
in the tweet. You can tweet longer too. It's not like we're limited now to 240
so,
characters
so
anymore.
wait, so anything that I tweet and all other tweets that I've ever made are now excluded because I used the word overwhelming in this one.
Well, they
even
wanted,
though all of this information I've said so publicly over and over and over again is what informs my position for why I'm convinced on the case. That's bizarre to me.
I feel like this is Andrew versus Andrew. Somebody asked you a question. What are the points that you find to be the most overwhelming? And you answered.
You mean from that day, from that particular day of the hearing that I was responding to?
Okay, this is something you find to be more overwhelming? Let me answer that question.
Yes,
okay.
that's
What
I
do you?
was saying,
Okay, go ahead. Go on. What do you find to be more overwhelming?
Yeah.
Can we do this? Do we want to get into it, or do we want to do a quick ad break? Are you guys good to keep going, or
I'm fine to keep going, but we can also.
Would you like to take a quick break?
Doesn't matter to me either
if
way.
we're going into a different topic, that may be another 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I don't want to stop you guys in the middle of it.
Let's
So
end it
what
on
would you
what
like
you
to
find
do?
to be more overwhelming.
Yeah. So if we're for me, it's the confessions, the text messages, all of that is what I consider to be, from my opinion, that's the most convincing for me.
Okay, we should discuss the text message confessions when we get back, if you'd like to.
Okay,
I think that's a good idea. Folks, we're going to take a quick ad break. We will be back in 3.5 minutes. Thank you.
All right, you guys, for nearly 2,000 years, Christians have lived continuously in a small village just outside of Jerusalem called
function and luxury. We had the choice to make it fast. We had the choice to make it.
What do you guys think so far? Sorry about my computer going down, like right at an hour in. I'm going to edit it out. I don't know why it did that, but sorry about the sharing thing too. I got to edit that too. It's just
cheap. We chose neither. Instead, we chose Tuscany, Italy. We chose true Italian craftsmanship, each pair touched by 50 skilled hands. We chose patience, spending 2 years perfecting every detail, and we chose the finest quality at every step. Introducing
I'll be
the
right
Future Looks
back.
Bright collection. Not rushed, not disposable, not ordinary. Rather, intentional, luxurious, timeless.
Dude, mouse, come the fuck on, homie.
The beautiful thing about these events, you know how quickly it goes? Like this. Is everybody ready to get started?
I've helped over 10,000 business owners grow and scale their companies. I'm just passionate about watching entrepreneurs create great business.
When you get guys like Jerry Rice, that was his work ethic.
We were able to do some great things on the football field.
The single most important trait I had was a healthy dose of delusion. And that delusion is sometimes also referred to as self-belief.
When I can do something that I love, that is good for business, and I can make content out of, that's my trifecta.
Confirmed the first 2 United States deaths associated with that outbreak. The CDC says the illness is caused by cyclospora, a microscopic parasite commonly spread through contaminated fresh produce. It can cause severe stomach cramps, nausea, fatigue, and other debilitating symptoms. If you get sick, the CDC recommends Bactrim. That's why the wellness company created the medical emergency kit with generic Bactrim plus 7 additional prescription medications to help treat more than 25 common illnesses and medical emergencies, all prescribed before you need them. Getting your kit is simple. You complete a secure online medical questionnaire. If it's approved by a licensed physician, your kit ships directly to your door. So don't wait until you're sick to wish that you were prepared. Visit twc.health/Candace and use code Candace at checkout to save up to $45 off plus free shipping. That's twc.health/Candace. Kits are available for United States residents only.
Sorry about that, guys. I had to go out to my car. I guess I'll be right back. Must be taking a break. What do you guys think so far? Candace is definitely holding her own. I thought her face was swollen. Like her right side. It looked like somebody punched her in the face. I was wondering if her and Rachel got into it. Rachel Wilson, Andrew's wife. But I think both of her cheeks are like that. I don't know if that's because she's pregnant. But yeah, Candace is holding her own. She's doing good. I guess this guy messaged me, asked me if I had the clip 2 or 3 days after Charlie passed. Andrew had on the whatever podcast with Brian Atlas. He says it'll be us internet sleuths that find out what happened to Charlie, not the FBI. And the guy messaged me if I had the clip. I do. I just got to go through it. I do have it written down, the timestamp where he says it. It's like 50 minutes into the video or an hour into it where he says it's going to be us that finds out who did it to him. But I'll put the video up on here on my channel for the guy. It was on Heavy Duty Country Dan's like 2 days ago because I messaged Dan and said, dude.
Okay, we're back. Fantastic. I think we're back. By the way, just an FYI for those of you that are watching The Crucible, there's 30,000 concurrent there watching. Support Andrew Wilson. That's your fans of his. Click that subscribe button and helps him grow his business. If you're watching Candace, I think there's 225 to 250,000 concurrent right now. We'd like to see that 300, 400,000 number on there. Click that button as well to subscribe and share it with your friends and family. And if you're watching it on PBD Podcast, do the same there as well. This allows us to have more conversations like this. The mainstream media hates the fact that we're having these conversations right now. Just so you know, they want to control it. This is free for all. This is what's best for the audience. That's why we like freedom of speech. Having said that, let's go back into the text conversation you were having, right?
Okay.
Let's stay there, and then we'll go into the cross-examination stuff in about 30 minutes.
Okay. That sounds fair. Okay. So yeah, I used basically 3 pillars for the totality of the evidence. Okay. So if you want to know exactly what those 3 pillars are, this is going to be the testimony with the text messages and the confessions. This is going to be the physical evidence. And this is going to be the totality of the summary of the case. Okay. Mm-hmm. So right now we're focusing on one of these pillars in my defense, which is fine. I understand that I have to defend my claims as well. So when we're talking about the messages themselves, they seem totally valid. I have no idea why they wouldn't be valid. And I have not heard any good explanation for why it is that these messages should even be questioned. The defense hasn't questioned them as far as I'm aware. Nobody has actually questioned that these messages came from Robinson to date, except perhaps you and other people who are kind of in that camp. Mm. But why should I question these exactly? I'm not sure.
Okay, so first let's just go over legally what the point is of a probative hearing. The defense is not putting on, they're not there to say or to argue or to defend themselves at all. They have to address what is being presented by the state. Okay. So they're not here to then say, let me give you an explanation for these text messages.
Agreed.
The relevant portion of what the defense did do was actually before we got to the preliminary hearing. I had mentioned that it was initially supposed to be scheduled for some time in May. They asked for an extension. That reading through those filings of why they were requesting an extension and why I actually believe their extension should have been granted because they did not receive discovery on their text messages. That was one of the reasons. There were many reasons why they wanted to have an extension, but this was crucial, right? So forget just the general sense that these messages feel off. And yes, you are allowed to have an intuition. You are allowed to have a sense and just go, this is very weird. We're being told this kid had like above a 4.0, Tyler Robinson. He wanted to get away. I mean, the text messages almost run head to head with themselves. Like he wanted to get away with it. So he thought the best thing to do would be to text a full confession of what he did down to what I didn't even remember saying, yeah, and that's also me in the surveillance footage. It felt a little too on the nose. People have common sense. You just don't text message, but then we're also supposed to believe that he put a note under and burn this and get rid of the evidence, but don't worry about that because I'm about to text you a full confession. That it felt off. It felt weird off the bat. The manner in which they were texting, we're told he's like a gamer who's using a Dremel to carve expressions, catch fascist, but then suddenly he's writing like a 1700
also, as a
novelist
player, he did actually get the 500K code correct.
Yeah, I'm not a gamer, so we'll say that if we start debating that, you'll be way over my head.
But yes,
but my point being is just that first, it's a general sense of why people had a reaction to these messages that seemed like they were written by Jane Austen rather than like a kid who games and writes catch.
Yeah, but do you see how that's intuition?
That is, I just said that. I said just parking aside the intuition of just something feels wrong here, which you should follow your intuition. You should actually do that. If you say
I
the
think
COVID
I think
vaccine is
that's
running out, feels like it's coming out too fast and there's too many celebrities telling me to do it, I'd like to take a pause. That's good. That is, you are allowed to do that. I believe in intuition. Now,
but hang on. Let me
aside,
respond a little bit here because you've been going for a minute. Let me at least respond to a little bit of this. So the first thing is like when people bring up the COVID vaccine, not trusting the COVID vaccine en masse was the science. That wasn't just intuition. That was the science. There was tons of competing science. Now they tried to suppress it. That's true. But there was tons of competing science for why you shouldn't take a risky mRNA vaccine and mass and things like this.
Kept telling us was 100%.
Now, when you're talking about intuition, though, when you say trust your intuition, I'm actually giving a different message. You actually should be very wary about trusting just your intuition. It is true that intuition can be useful, but it has to be tempered with logic, reason, explanatory power, and evidence, not just intuition.
That's why we're parking it aside. Intuition is the first step. Something feels off, right?
Okay.
That was my first step with COVID. I don't like the way it's being pushed. It shouldn't require a celebrity campaign, by the way. Another element of that is why people don't feel good about the Charlie thing. Why do we have so many influencers saying things? It's over. Why are you guys all using the same adjective? Can you switch it up? I'm overwhelmed. Like, chill. Like, you could say, I found some
kind
parts compelling. I think this should go.
Like
I found some parts compelling. Maybe we should, see at the trial. That would be kind of.
Don't you think Fed slop's a buzzword for the counter industry?
But everyone on the same day of watching this trial, which was, I would say, not overwhelming at all. Nobody came in medium, right? No one came in like there were some interesting aspects. This was a little suspect. But I do think it's enough to go to trial. They all came in like they were passing away and we're going to die from being overwhelmed.
Well, they're trusting their intuition.
Okay. Well, actually, in that scenario, they're looking at the preliminary hearing and have a reaction to it. It wasn't their intuition. But like I said, parking aside, just getting to the substance, parking that aside, aside just a general intuition that sometimes might be second messages. Then we look at the filings, which came from the defense, and they were requesting an extension saying, we have gone to the prosecution and we have requested all of this stuff in discovery. Yes, you are saying that you took Lance's phone, okay, and that you collected his phone on September 11th and that you sent it off or whatever. You took a picture of the text messages and we are being given these text messages to review. Crucially, Kathy Nestor said, I have not even been given access to my client's phone during this hearing. She said, I haven't even been given access to my client's phone. She can't tell you, as a part of their discovery request, is it's not enough to say to me, Candace, I just got a text message from Candace. And I say, I didn't send that text message. Maybe that's what her client's saying. We don't know because we're not at the trial, right? Maybe he didn't send those messages. Could there be someone who logged into his Discord? Could there be someone who logged in to his Apple? George could be sending text messages right now. We are married. He has every login that I have. And remember, he's up for a death sentence. So if I'm able to sow reasonable doubt with common sense, he may come during the trial and when they actually have to address these points, say, I did not write those messages. I was here. Lance, my boyfriend, was logged into my phone, logged into my Apple ID and my iCloud sending messages. I know that we have the capability because my husband does it. He has the capability to send messages from my phone. It is not convincing to the public when, for whatever reason, the FBI combined with the SBI, it was not the prosecution's fault. They made that clear during that hearing, would not allow them that discovery request to be able to see where did that message come from? Because you're saying my client was here, right? I want to know if that message actually was generated from his iPhone when he was waiting to retrieve his, rifle, hoping that the pooch doesn't have a bad sniffer, like just weird messages. I want to make sure that, yes, it was actually him. He was holding his phone and his boyfriend didn't just log in to his computer when he was home. Lance was his boyfriend. That is a crucial fact here. That discovery was not met by the time we got to preliminary hearing. So I remain unconvinced by these text messages. Just as you feel convinced by them, I feel unconvinced by them. Okay.
So then the idea here is the reason that you don't think that these are valid text messages, and you don't, right?
It has not been proven that these messages are valid and they don't sound valid to me. I don't think anyone, even if someone was selling like a, I don't know, pot on the corner, would be smarter than to write a full-fledged confession. He even writes, I thought I would get away with it. And I was hoping never to tell you until old age. And then we're being told that he wanted to commit suicide. And Okay, but he just said he wanted to get away with it, but he's not smart enough to, I don't know, maybe not text it's such a confession like we've never seen. I think this would be like the first time ever somebody has start to finish written an entire, I'm in this surveillance footage and I'm here and I'm wearing my Converse. You know, I'm being a little facetious here, but it was a little ridiculous. It didn't pass a sniff test for me.
You have kids. And you
do.
love them more than anything.
I do.
If it was the case that you thought that your kid was innocent, wouldn't you be out telling everybody and their brother that you thought that they were innocent? And also, wouldn't you maybe recant and say, hey, he didn't actually confess to me. He didn't actually, none of this happened the way that the state is presenting it. What would have prevented the parents from testifying?
Well, two things I can answer that. And if you watch my show, I keep telling you it's not vibes. So right after the shooting happened, Lance Twiggs, the FBI put him into a safe house they paid for. They went to the parents as well, to Matt Robinson and Amber, basically said, your life's at risk. There could be somebody who jumps up and wants to avenge Charlie Kirk. And, we're going to watch you. And they went into a federal safe house. What happened next is that they started thinking that the feds were maybe gonna, maybe not as honest as they thought. And
how do you know any of that?
So you gotta watch the show, right?
Yeah, no. How do you know that?
I had a source within the Robinson family.
You have a source, an anonymous source, of course. So there's no way for us to verify that what you're saying right now is actually even true.
Do you find it to be reliable hearsay?
No, I don't find it to be reliable at all. It's just a source.
I'm just doing what the prosecution
What you're doing is
did.
a cool story.
It's not cool. Well, you must have hated watching the preliminary hearing.
You're giving us a cool story.
Wait,
you're saying that according to your sources, that the reason that the parents haven't recanted any of this.
Recanted what? They have no statement from the parents.
Wait, I just want to make sure that if it was the case, it was being reported in mainstream media that your father came to you and said, hey, is this you? What's going on here? And then he and one of his buddies took you in where you turned yourself in. You wouldn't go out and be like, no, that's not what happened.
That isn't what happened, though. You're just wrong on this.
Okay. Maybe I'm paraphrasing. What am I wrong on?
What is just so I'm clear, where is your evidence that the parents turned him in?
Well, no. I didn't say that.
You said there's the mainstream media?
I said with a sheriff friend.
Yes.
But the father did confront him.
The father confronted what?
Tyler Robinson.
And where did you learn this? That the Tyler confronted
that's part
him?
of the official documents. Our fact checkers can pull that up. But yes.
But I'm saying, when you say official documents, do you mean you saw this on CNN or you saw this play out in the hearing?
No, this was one of the things that I went through and fact check pre-debate.
Are you talking about the charging documents?
I think it could have been in the charging documents, but we can pull them up.
No.
And yes, are you disputing this?
Do we have that in the back to pull it up?
I can already tell you what you're talking about, the charging documents, because this is where we had to figure out where this story came from, because everyone was operating on the assumption that Matt Robinson turned him in. Until we got to the preliminary hearing and we understood, like I said, even for that, when you are charging someone, you can use hearsay. It's all probative, right?
Sure.
Nothing. So they didn't have statements. It's not like Matt Robinson, even though he was interviewed that night. Amber Robinson was interviewed that night by a Fed, separate rooms. Tyler Robinson was interviewed by a Fed. They did not produce statements saying, my son did this. I believe my son did this. But what happened was they did interviews, but also the crucial person here who you just brought up is Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell is the biggest unknown in this entire case. Everyone keeps saying they heard from Mike Mitchell this, they heard from Mike Mitchell that. So when the person wrote up the report that night, and it was Brian Davis who wrote up what became the charging document, he after they transported Tyler Robinson from the Washington Sheriff's County office up to, I think it's Salt Lake City. I think it was 4 a.m. in the morning that they got up there. He then writes what becomes a charging document. So he's basically saying, we all spoke to a bunch of people and here's the information that we got, right? We've not seen that. So it could have come from Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell could be saying,
I don't know how this negates the point, though.
Why wouldn't the parents? The point, because you don't have a statement from the parents. You are going.
Why wouldn't they just correct the
it's not correcting. That doesn't negate the point. The point is that we now got the preliminary hearing. If the parents were the ones who said, I'm turning my son in because he's guilty.
I didn't say they turned him in.
I think you're talking about you said it's been the narrative. Everybody's known this. The narrative initially, which I think you agree with, was that, Matt Robinson knew his kid was guilty and turned him into the police station. What actually happened in terms of Sheriff Brooksby, who was present there and gave a press conference, what happened was this Mike Mitchell character essentially peer pressured him. And we can get a fact check on this. We can find Sheriff Brooksby's press conference. And he said, you know, they know it's you and you're going to come in peaceably, or people are going to be banging down your door. He was a undercover cop, which I don't like that. I don't know what he did undercover. It's very hard to find anything about Mike Mitchell, but he worked with them for 20 plus years, the police officers. The reason why Tyler Robinson knew him was because he lived nearby and he was also his Boy Scout
How
leader.
does this negate the parents could write this second? And by the way, if you had
I'm
the
going to
evidence,
address that point. I'm just saying that your first point, which is that the parents did this.
Yeah.
We don't know that the parents.
I didn't say that they did ever. Never
Well,
happened.
you're quoting the parents as having said, you said that Matt Robinson said that his kid was, you say involved. I don't want to misquote you.
Confronted him about
Confronted him.
Yes.
And I'm telling you that we have not seen any evidence that that is true.
We can fact check that.
Okay.
Because we do have evidence.
And I'm saying it's the charging doc, which could have been derived from a statement Mike Mitchell said.
Two things I have ready in the back. One
Cool.
is the charging doc, and the other
Yes.
one is the video of Kathy Nestor saying she hasn't seen Tyler's phone.
Okay, we can
Okay.
run
Which
Kathy to
one
go
would you wanna
back,
see
and then
first?
just to
You
go
wanna see
backwards
Kathy
to
first?
Kathy first in court saying she didn't get her client's phone. Yeah, and then I think we'll go to the. If you're okay with that.
A thing not in dispute. These are all things that are not even disputing.
Okay, so we don't
And
have to show it.
We never get to the thing that I am disputing.
Well, I was just providing an answer. We were coming back in from a break because you were talking about the text messages, something that you felt was concrete. So it was just my rebuttal to you that it's not concrete because they haven't had a chance to actually answer that. And she didn't even get to see your client's phone. So that's effectively, again, the state saying these messages are real. You don't get the discovery on these messages just yet. She will during trial. They will actually
Don't you
discover the
think
messages.
that would make their case fall apart if it was the case that they weren't able to actually pull the data off the text messages? Do you think the prosecution would go to court with fabricated text messages?
It's called winners and losers. They may not be fabricated, but by the way, as what they are saying, like I said, if there was somebody logged into his phone, they may not be fabricated. That's the point.
So let's get to the
They just
let's
could
get
be
to
somebody
the parents,
else.
the parents fact check.
Yeah, so I was saying, I believe what you're talking about was derived from the charging doc, which was signed off by Brian Davis.
Let's pull it up.
Let's see if that's correct. What are we looking at
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, I'm sorry.
Can you zoom in a
here?
little
Is
bit?
this the charging
I
doc?
can't see it. Robinson's
yes.
father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that police suspected the shooter used matched the rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle, which makes sense with the text messages. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home.
Yes. So this is proving my point. This is from the charging document, correct? Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is that 3 people got interviewed on that night. Mike Mitchell got interviewed, Amber Robinson got interviewed, and Matt Robinson got interviewed. Of the 3 of them, only one of them actually wrote a statement, which was referred to in this preliminary trial. He came in, I believe, in March, Mike Mitchell, and he wrote a statement, which I find to be very shady that they decided to bring.
But why aren't the parents disputing that?
No. Well, first off,
that's the question.
First
I've
off,
been
the
asking.
parents are not going to ever play in court. Play to the cameras in court when they have a legal team that is going to be advising them not to speak to the court because your son could go to prison
But
forever.
they're playing to somebody else who's your source.
I'm not going to address that.
They're playing to someone else who's your source, but won't go publicly tell the media this is not true.
Well, what I did not say to you that I just said I have a source, so I want to be very clear and take it from somebody who is involved and permanently sued. When I have to take my lawyer's advice, I mean, there's so many things that I want to respond to when people are speaking about.
Yeah, but it's bizarre that they would utilize a source which would get the information to you, but wouldn't just go to the media and be like, actually, that's all wrong.
I am telling you that you would nary find a lawyer who would advise you to go to the media.
This mother,
especially when your son
if I thought that my kid
was up for death.
If I thought that my kid was in any way, shape, or form going to be up, you couldn't shut me up. Or my wife, she would be like, that's not true. That's ridiculous. There's no possible. That never happened. These people are lying through their teeth. They'd be public, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that's for you and your wife. But when a judge issues a gag order in a case and your son is up for death and your lawyers could be advising you that if you say anything, you could blow the case, you would have a more responsible consideration.
I see.
And we're speaking opinion here. You're like, well, I wouldn't care. I'd violate it and I'd violate the judge's orders and see what would happen.
If you have a source, it seems like they're violating it with them.
I'm not speaking to a source, but what I am saying to you is speaking just relevant to what this is. We have not seen any proof that that statement that is included in this charging document, I think it is highly likely on the basis of the preliminary hearing that all came from Mike Mitchell. And Mike Mitchell would be a part, he's
based
saying,
on the statements of
it's him saying, the parents told me this. The parents could dispute that. That's going to come down the line, right? They're going to be able to seat the parents. I will say this, putting together context clues. If the state had it on, 100% certainty that Matt Robinson and Amber Robinson said it, a 5-day preliminary hearing would be a good time to say we have enough evidence. And I can tell you why Matt Robinson made this statement, and here is his statement that he signed. That would have been a good time to present that evidence.
That would also be a good time for the defense to say that's just totally fabricated.
No, it's not. It's the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
That is completely the wrong time.
Why couldn't they?
Because what they're doing is they already said they didn't receive discovery. They literally can't. They literally can't because they can't. They did not
You're
receive
saying that
discovery.
they didn't receive that information?
No, they just received the text messages. But in order to...
That's not the text messages.
The probative information.
Yeah, we're talking about the information that we just reviewed. That's not the text messages.
They never presented it. The state never put it on.
Yeah, they didn't. The defense could easily still have presented this. Yeah,
no,
they could have said they're
no,
they're not allowed to. Are you sure?
In a preliminary hearing,
yeah,
the defense is engaging with whatever evidence the state decides to put on. They did not put this on as evidence. Brian Davis was up there.
So they're not allowed to present anything?
They're responding to the state's
evidence. I'm asking,
evidence.
are they allowed to present anything?
They are allowed to say...
Like if there was a conspiracy that they could prove right then and there, would they present that in one of these hearings?
No, it wouldn't be the right time for that.
I disagree. I think that they not only could do it, but they would do it. In fact, when I talked in depth with my attorney, they said that's exactly, if you had actual evidence that there was fabrications by the feds, that's exactly when you would introduce that.
So when in the document that they filed yesterday or a couple of days ago, the appropriate, like what you're doing at this stage of the hearing is the state is saying, we have enough evidence that we think this needs to go forth to the trial. Hence the reason that there's this extraordinary, we allow hearsay because it doesn't really need to be perfect. It can be enough that we feel like we can move forward. Right. And okay, I disagree with that in general when somebody's rotting in prison, but whatever. The next phase is for them to meet in court and for the defense to essentially present an argument to the state that says, we find this filing to be defective in and of itself. We don't even have to defend ourselves because you, the state, have enough, you know what the laws are on the books, and this filing is defective and you should get rid of these charges because they don't make sense based on what you can decide based on a law on the books. So then that's why they then file the dismissal. Right. So in the dismissal, what they're doing is they are engaging, and this is what was widely misinterpreted.
Well, yeah, they're engaging as though as it's a hypothetical. If this is hypothetically true, then
so they're saying all of these charges.
I'm not disputing any of that.
So that's what you're asking. Why you're saying could they just
what I'm asking specifically is like who could shut parents up who are like, no way, there's no possible. This never happened. This is ridiculous. They would be shouting it on CNN. They would be shouting it from the rooftops. They would be losing their minds. And you're like, nope, the gag order would be enough to keep them quiet. Not enough for them to talk to your source, but enough to keep them quiet. I think that's quite ridiculous. But I'll even concede this whole point to you. Let's just say maybe this was misconstrued, right? There's a little bit of reason to doubt it because we're still waiting for the evidence for trial. If that's the case, then why not take the same standard for the evidence that you present? You're just waiting for trial.
Well, you didn't do that.
Wait a second.
We're here.
Wait a second. I just want to make sure that I got this right. That's your argument to me, right?
My argument to you is what?
Your argument to me is that, hey, wait a second, Andrew. There's not enough here that convinces me, right?
Well, that's actually my rebuttal to you, is that you are saying, why are people engaging in what you term to be conspiracy theories?
No.
I term it to be thinking. They're just thinking because they're recognizing there are a lot of holes in these stories and that this is not strong evidence, right? This is the reason they're doing it. I'm explaining to you, this is the reason that they're doing it. I'm addressing what you view to be overwhelming evidence. And by the way, I want to be clear.
That which convinces me.
Yeah, well, but thus far, every point that you've brought up, every point that you've brought up, did you feel like this is beyond a reasonable doubt? I mean, you realize
remember what I said in my opening.
Going to be
it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just what I find convincing is what I find overwhelming.
So why are you so upset when people say they don't find it convincing?
If that was the limitation of the claims that you made, if it was just, wait a second, there's a little bit of problems. There's some problems in this case that I have questions for that I want answers to. Nobody'd have a problem, actually. Least of all me. I would be the least likely person to have an issue with you, any of your fans, anybody saying. In fact, I've had tons of Discord calls about this. My position's always been clear. Of course, conspiracies exist. Some of them have way better evidence than others, but I've seen them myself. I know conspiracy. In fact, the federal government has hundreds of thousands of laws about conspiracies. They see them everywhere. We both know this, right? That's never what the problem is. The problem is when you make claims outside of, well, wait a second. I'm just questioning evidence here. I'm just questioning what the state's case is here. I'm just asking questions. It's when you make claims outside of that, where you claim that there's good evidence or good standards you should believe because, and then it turns out that it's all nonsense or it's wackadoo stuff or it makes no sense. And when we have a chance to cross-examine your evidence that you've presented, I'm going to show a lot of that. A lot of this conjecture that's based on literally nothing, that leads from no inferences whatsoever. Like you couldn't even infer it logically. That's the problem. The problem has never been whether or not you just said, you know, there's not enough in this case so far until we get to the trial. I remain unconvinced. I'm sure there's tons of people who remain unconvinced yet until we get to the trial. I think that's fine. I think it's fine. There's people who are convinced too. That's never been my problem. My problem is the claims which are external to that.
Okay. I'm not sure I really care if you have a problem with what I think in my own spare time. I don't understand this like lecture that you just gave. But beyond that, what I'm saying is that if the state is allowed to use,
I didn't
this is what
lecture
this is what my problem is. You guys are not like, yeah, you guys think while it's illegal, you can, you are allowed to do that. So, but anyway, going back to you saying I wouldn't have a problem. I think I just demonstrated pretty thoroughly that what you claim that you have a problem with is exactly what the state is engaged in at this stage. So it just doesn't make sense.
That's not the case. In fact,
so if people look and they say, I'm looking at the gun and I see, and I'm inferring this, and someone else says, I'm looking at the gun evidence and I'm inferring that, they're both doing the exact same thing.
They're not.
You're just saying, I want to do it for the state.
That's propositionally false.
That is not propositionally false.
I'll explain exactly how. It is the case that every proposition is going to have a true or false conclusion, period. That's just logic, right? It's the law of excluded middle. All propositions are going to be true or they're going to be false. When we get into when we're making inferences based on propositions. We can actually come to true conclusions with false premises inside of a proposition. In fact, what we're talking about here is not whether or not you feel that you're convinced by this evidence.
But you felt like you were convinced.
Right? Sure. But here's the thing. When you ask me my reason, Andrew, why are you convinced by this? I can give you my reasons why I'm convinced by it, why it seems reasonable and rational to me to be convinced. You could even say, but Andrew, I'm just not convinced by it. If that was the limitation of your claims, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. That's why I wanted to have the conversation, in fact, was so that we could move into your actual claims that you've made, which transcend the idea of I'm just asking questions.
Before we get into that, your team has one thing they want to show before you go into that. So if you want to pull that up, this is the prosecution filing showing defense had full discovery by April 1st.
Oof.
They did not. That's not true.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
To date, the state's prosecutors have disclosed all evidence that is presently and reasonably available to them as required under Rule 16, Utah R Criminal, to be more precise, as of April 1st.
Yeah, that was not 100%. That's why they're caging that by saying what's reasonable. There was an entire, and we can pull this up, like we should now play the Kathy Nestor clip because that's from there. So, and they were basically saying you don't need it at this stage, meaning it's not reasonable that you're asking for this when we're going into a hearing that's just going to be based on hearsay and stuff, things of that nature. But of course, by the time a trial comes, you're going to get all the discovery documents.
Show cause.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying there.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. So that's
I'm even fine with it.
Yeah, we all know. And then, by the way, just now that the hearing is over, and you can also fact check this, they now at the end of the preliminary hearing dropped like an insane amount of the discovery stuff they gave to them like the week after. You guys can give me the exact amount. I don't want to say because I don't know my I don't remember how much it was. It was an absurd amount of stuff that they gave to them right after the preliminary hearing that they had been asking for. Because that was one of the things that I kept saying on my show is as we were watching that preliminary of the preliminary, why not just give them the stuff now so they can engage in these arguments? Because I feel like you, it's like, I want to hear what they have to say about the text messages. Why can't you just give them what they're asking for so that they can actually engage you? And it didn't happen. So, but the judge ruled that it wasn't necessary at this stage. And that was the whole point of that
Because it's
preliminary
a
to the
show
preliminary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to play the Kathy video?
Well, he's saying he's not disagreeing, so I don't think we need
There's
to.
no point here.
There's no
Okay.
disagreement
All right,
that
great.
that she said that.
Yeah.
So so I guess
Yeah.
the
I'd like to
disagreements now
also-
would move into the
I
evidences that you have stated
Yeah.
on the record, which transcend elements of reason.
Why are we
in regards
having
to this
a
case.
transcendental conversation now? Because I mean,
Because
first,
they're all
because
related to this
your
case.
entire thing was about looking at the evidence, which never made sense to me. Again, because all of the evidence that you felt to be overwhelming was hearsay. That was bizarre to me.
You told me that I could take as much time as I
No,
wanted
you
to
can.
question you on
No,
these
but
things.
I'm just asking you just to lay the groundwork of what you're saying is
Because you've
problematic.
made
That
many,
you
many
decide that it trips
claims.
into
I'll
something
explain.
else. And I do still want to hold you for going through, because we've discussed the gun, we've discussed your
and you can hold me to those things, but I
yeah.
would like to get into the
and we
things
should
that you've
discuss
said.
the screwdriver as
So,
well.
and I'll explain exactly what the groundwork is.
Mhm.
When you make claims which pass the idea of I'm just asking questions because the state's evidence is not convincing, I think you have to answer for those claims because they are in regards to this case. You're saying, I have a claim. It is in regards to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is what we're talking about, not just the case of Charlie Kirk, his assassination. You should have to answer for the claims that you've made in regards to the assassination itself. You should, yeah, agreed. So if that's the case, then I would like to finally dive into some of that evidence and dive into it.
Well, just to be clear,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to have you talk about, like I said, publicly, you want to engage in some conspiracies, but I said I want to make sure that we get to the substance of our debate. The substance of our debate
is the major
is me
substance.
demonstrating that all of the quote unquote evidence that you feel that you have, which demonstrates that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
You don't find convincing. I get it.
It's been invalidated by the testimony that we saw, and in your answer for when I
you haven't
explained to you that he had
invalidated
the
it.
most degraded prints was, I don't know. Okay, well there lies my ability to process that.
It's just fine for you
Okay.
to not be convinced up to this point. All of your viewers,
Mhm.
everybody watching,
So you're conceding.
Nobody's
on
giving a
that.
dispute that if all your claims ever were just up to now, the evidence that the state's given, I'm just kind of not convinced. That is not what's been happening. What's actually been happening is that you've made tons of claims in regards to this case and in regards to the Kirk assassination, which are far above and beyond, I just doubt, the state's theory.
Okay, yeah, I mean, sure.
those are
I
the
do
things
doubt. I
that
do doubt the state's theory. I also am
I get
welcome
it.
to say what I think. If you want to move into opinions, if you want to talk about Erica Kirk, if you want to talk about
Yeah.
Turning Point USA,
I'd like to talk about all
and
of
get
it.
into it, I'm
Yeah.
totally happy to do that. But I just want to say that, like, I do not feel, because I've said what's important to me is that we exhaust this topic
Mhm.
first of our actual debate claims. I do not feel that you sufficiently have argued that the evidence is overwhelming.
Sorry.
Candace, question for you.
That
What,
Tyler
But I am
Robinson.
sorry you feel that way.
Candace, one question. What evidence do you need to see for you to say Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk?
That's a great question. So I actually expected in this preliminary hearing, actually, the inverse of what he was saying is true, right? So this is now the time the state is putting on their evidence. That's the purpose of this hearing, right? The
Mhm.
state is using hearsay, but they're also putting on their evidence. So I was just expecting some sort of a slam dunk. Like, we got him on camera taking the shot. At least we have him clear on camera. You're telling me this guy drove 13 hours all around. Like, we can definitely show you a picture that it's going to be beyond a reasonable doubt before we even get to the trial. People are going to see and go, oh crap, like, it was really Tyler Robinson. I was expecting to at least see evidence that, because I had reported early on that the source was saying that Tyler did not step foot on campus that day. It is my perspective that he had something to do with something. I do believe he was disposing clothes at this stage, at this phase. I do believe he was disposing clothes. He was involved somehow. I find Lance to be more suspicious, if I'm being honest with you. And also, like I said, the use immunity that was given to Lance by the feds, the fact that the feds didn't ask him any questions, the fact that I spoke with Lance Twiggs' family, and they were like, it's very weird that the feds are not asking him more questions. He's exactly the person that I would imagine to be involved in some stuff. Allegedly, I'll say allegedly. But when we got to the preliminary hearing, there was not a single piece of evidence that I felt was slam dunk. I was waiting for that, a photo. I mean, anything would have made me go, all right, I think this could be the guy. If they had handed over the discovery on the text messages, since that was their big ta-da, we've got the text messages, that would be the first thing that I would hand over. But actually, who was holding them up? Like I said, it wasn't the prosecution. They're right to say we we were handing things over, and we heard the defense argue on behalf of the prosecution, saying it's not them and it's not the SBI, it's the FBI that's holding on to things. Is the FBI took everything. The FBI took the gun. The FBI took initially the screwdriver. And then when I heard testimony about the things that they found that were suspicious, example being the backpack. That's something that really bothers me. That they say they traced the shooter, they traced the route that he went on, and then there was an abandoned. We know it looks like he's wearing some sort of a backpack. We know that there was an abandoned backpack found at the bus stop in front of a library, and they felt that this should be taken into evidence. They took it. The FBI, this was the testimony of Amanda Baker, I believe her last name is, but you might want to fact check that because I think I'm blending last names. She was the forensics for the FBI. And then she says she gets a call on the 13th and they stop testing on this backpack because they find that the backpack actually belongs to somebody on Charlie's team. But if you know the map of the layout of the campus, you're going, well, what the hell are they doing all the way up? This is nowhere near anywhere. And by the way, that's not an acceptable answer for why you just gave it back. That's like, why would you give it back? You're acting like no one's ever been killed by somebody on their team before, right? So I found that to be very strange that it was on the exact route that the alleged gunman ran, and that their excuse was, we just gave it back because we heard that this belonged to somebody on Charlie's team. So that to me is, this is why the investigation itself feels underwhelming. When you learn, and this is completely crazy to me, that some of the artifacts that Charlie was wearing were immediately returned to Erica. That's absurd. That is absurd. Everything should be in evidence. When you learn that the car that they carried Charlie in to go to the hospital, they had immediately towed, cleaned, and back up for resale, that's absurd. That should be sitting in evidence. And any police officer that you speak to will say, or a person that's been involved in a crime will say, I didn't get my stuff back for years. That had nothing to do with anything. It was just around. And they kept it into evidence until the trial was over, and it has to be approved. I think somebody said by the attorney general has to sign off on giving you those objects back. And we were told this is all fine. And we see, this is just one example, Erica holding the crucifix. That should be in evidence. Irrespective of if you feel bad for her and think she should have it and it's sweet, that should be in evidence. Immediately paving over the crime scene. This is like the craziest thing ever. It's like defies common sense. You immediately, and when you heard the guy who did it actually go up on a podcast and explain, I got the call. They said it was a paver emergency. I've never in my entire career heard of a paver emergency. They had already had someone come up and dig up the dirt. So by the time he got there on Sunday, the dirt had already been dug up for him to lay down pavers. That is what people are looking at and going, this is weird. There needs to be answers for why this was done. And he tells us the call came from the feds and the governor's office. UVU's washed their hands of it. And what he's saying sounds true, because we heard during the testimony, one person described the regions of who was in control of everything. The feds were in control of the courtyard. So in order for anybody to have paved anything, that was federal territory, so to speak. I'm maybe not using that in the best cop term, but the feds were in control of the courtyard. So these are things that I think should be answered for. Why are we doing things differently than you would in any other criminal scenario of keeping the evidence until we know more, until we're confident, the various decoys. I did it. It just doesn't look right.
Okay, so go back to the question. So what would you need to see for you to say
something? If they had, I was expecting, here we have him, he took the shot, here it is. And then I'd be like, great, a clear image of him on the staircase where I'm like, that's definitively Tyler Robinson and he was on campus. We got nothing. We got literally nothing but hearsay of people saying.
But you basically get no case.
What?
You basically no case on planet Earth. You get the,
sure.
Oh, we got a picture.
Okay,
Here's him with the murder weapon.
Right.
Here's him taking the shot.
Most of this doesn't take place on a college campus that has surveillance everywhere.
Yeah.
One clear image of his.
But I don't understand when you're
his
asked,
car plates.
If you're asked the question, what would it take to convince? It'd be the same question be asked to me, Andrew. What would take to convince you that the oppositional is true, right? That he's a patsy or something like that. Just good, clear, concise evidence that's been presented, right? And is being presented that I could go through and link all together to see if there's actually some clear picture of there being a patsy. That's what it would take for me.
Okay.
Just
I don't disagree with that. We haven't heard the defense
just
respond.
a good evidentiary standard. And then of course I would change my mind.
So just to qualify this. So there is a possibility in the next few months that you may come out and say, guys, it's done. Tyler killed him. So you're saying yes to that.
Yeah.
I think it's very important for the audience here that from
Without
you,
question.
for you, is there anything that you could see for you to say, yeah, this guy was a patsy?
Of
the government
course,
was a
I'm going to always follow evidence.
Perfect.
So my whole thing is just this. It's really important to me. I don't mind people being truth seekers and justice searchers, and the internet has helped solve tons of crimes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, right? However, there's also people who, you know, they not only don't solve crimes, but they just come up with conjecture, and they what's called flooding the zone. You flood the zone with tons and tons of conspiracy-based ideas, and they go nowhere, right? And in fact, they actually take away from legitimate investigation. Now, I'm not even saying anybody here is purposely flooding the zone. That's not even the claim. All I'm saying is that the claims made absent, this is just me not being convinced by the state's evidence. Those become claims, and claims have to be defended. Just like mine have to be defended, yours have to be defended. And that's what we're going to get to now, yeah?
You want to get into it? Would you guys like to take an ad break?
We'll take an ad
Take
break.
an ad break, sure.
And then we'll talk Erica Kirk and TPUSA.
And the conspiracies that have been conjectured by Candace Owens in regards to this case in the Charlie Kirk
Perfect.
assassination.
Folks, we'll take a 3.5 minute break and we'll be back soon.
All right, you guys, you have probably seen all the buzz around.
To create a shoe that blends comfort, function,
She's
and
freaking
luxury. We had the knife. Instead, we chose Tuscany, Italy. We chose true Italian craftsmanship.
She's doing awesome, Candace. I think she's doing great. I was more nervous for her at the beginning, but she's doing good. It seems like Andrew is kind of a little off on his game. So
Each pair touched by 50 skilled hands.
yeah, guys, if this debate goes on longer than like 2:30, 3 o'clock, I have to go. I'll put it in the description, the full debate. But I'm house sitting for my aunt and uncle because they're on vacation, and I have to watch the dogs. So I have to like 2:30, 3 o'clock. But
We chose patience, spending 2 years perfecting every detail, and we chose the finest quality.
All the time. So if you want to rock some faith over fear gear, hit the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the description. And remember, guys, if you have true faith in God, you have absolutely nothing to fear. God bless, and the future looks bright.
Many times when people think about valuetainment, all they think about is a podcast, but it's a lot more than that. It's 9 companies working together on an 11-acre campus. If I was to give you a virtual tour here, you'll see the HR department hiring, talent acquisition.
yeah, I thought Candace and Rachel got into it at first because it looked like her face was swollen. But about the guy that was asking me if I have Andrew clip that said it was us internet sleuths. Yes, I do. I just got to go through the video and I'll put it on here. I think I have a timestamp for like 106, or it's between 50 minutes and an hour where he says that. It says us internet sleuths that are the ones that are going to be the ones that figure this out with Charlie.
To you is a governor, is a billionaire, is an athlete. We are hiring aggressively, but valuetainment isn't for everybody. For the right person.
What do you think about Patrick Bet David too? I think he's doing good as a moderator. I thought at first but I do like him, but I didn't. Because I hear he's a Zionist. That's why I didn't want him to be a moderator. But he's doing good. He's doing really good. He's keeping it fair. He is.
Person, this could be the last company you ever work for. So if you're watching this and you want to learn more, go to vt.com/careers
I have about an
and
hour and a
apply
half.
now.
And if my computer just shuts off like it did at the first hour, I don't know why it did that before. So it'll come right back on. I still want to know why YouTube wouldn't let me go live earlier. already been going live for 2 hours and 21 minutes. This is the longest I've ever been on a live. I gotta go to the bathroom. I can wait. If you wonder what I'm chewing on, it's my Ultra pouch. They're pre-workout pouches. Hey Ultra, if you ever want to sponsor me, I had half my gym. Get on it. It can even help you quit smoking too. That's another thing I need is a cigarette. But I don't want to. I'm trying to quit. I was at 2 packs a day to half a pack a day now. Why is Logan Paul on my screen? I can't stand them. When you scam people, I do not like you. Nope. If you scam people, lie. I don't like it. I don't even like, I can't even lie. I can't do it. Even when I was on heroin, I couldn't lie. It's just not in me. I think Candace is up on, like, because I usually see Andrew destroy all these people in debates. Like, it's easy for him. But Candace, she is a freaking dragon, man. Candace, you were a dragon, hon. And you always are glowing. Literally, even when you're not pregnant, you are always glowing. How Trump said Brigitte Man Crone was more prettier than Candace. Okay, Diaper Dawn. That's funny how he had to hide in like a little box truck because I heard about that. That was funny. I'm shocked it wasn't in a McDonald's truck or like what's a good butter a butter brand because he eats sticks of butter. JD Vance even said that on Jimmy Dore. He eats sticks of butter like Snickers bars. Logan Paul in that picture looks like he's doing like a modeling shoot or something. Like, homie, you're a WWE wrestler. Do my sport. Mixed martial arts. I love my sport. Yeah, please, if you could like, comment, or subscribe, I appreciate it. And I will get that video of Andrew. I'll with him saying it's us internet sleuths that was gonna find out what happened to Charlie. And He's been riding Barron, but Barron's trying to do, and Candace are trying to do the government's job because they don't know what they're doing. Cash Patel, Dan Bongina. How Cash Patel wouldn't get off the plane at UVU unless he had an FBI jacket too. That was hilarious. and and a woman, a small woman, gave her his jacket because he's so small. He was stomping, like doing a tantrum. If I don't have an FBI jacket, I'm not going off the plane. Oh, it was Tyler in 4K. It's him on video. It's him taking the shot. No, it's not. That dude's way builder. His arms are bigger. His calves are bigger. Tyler is scrawny. He's like the size of my youngest niece. This is the longest live I've ever done. I do want to do more lives. I think I might just go at the 3-hour mark on my thing. And if you guys want, no, I'll go till like 2 o'clock. Yeah, please give Candace a follow if you don't, and Patrick Bet David and Andrew. I used to really like Andrew a lot. I used to like. I thought he was just as good as Charlie at debating, but no, Charlie was the best. Tucker is very good too. I think Tucker and Charlie are one of the best debaters in the whole world. I hope Ted Cruz runs for president so Tucker will debate him. He's like, if he runs, he's like, I will run so I could just debate him. Like I said, our dream team. Tucker as president, Massey as vice president, and Secretary of State, our boy Joe Ken. Can you imagine if Massey becomes president or vice president with the Big E? I'm not even mentioning it on here. He'd be like, you're going to jail, you're going to jail, you're going under the jail, you're going to jail. More than a 3-minute break. I'll wait till they come back on to go to the bathroom. When I hit end stream, it's going to load for a while. I know it. After I'm done with this live. And I'm going to have to watch it all over again. Because you got to edit. I see why I have really nobody watching, because everybody's on Candace's or probably Barron's or PBD or Andrews. How he was asking people for money for the debate, like he's as worse as he is just as bad as a female, like a liberal female. I'm not talking shit. I'm just like, you liberals, man. I'm an independent. I was Democrat, but I am Christian, so I am a Republican. Not anymore. I'm independent. I think independents are the real Republicans, not these fake MAGA little pusses. Come on, in that inauguration dinner, only 2 people that didn't fucking run when gunshots. Trump was one of them, and my guy Dana White. RFK Jr. was running like a little bitch. Like, dude, your dad be so disappointed in you. Your dad was the best president, I think. And I bet he takes money from them. I guarantee you he does. If that was my dad and they did that to my dad, I'd be like, okay, give me the money. Give me the money. I just burn it. But yeah, if I can't do the whole debate, I'll put the whole debate in my description. I think I already have it in there. Like, I wouldn't mind learning business from Patrick Bet-David. Like, he knows his shit about business. Like how the picture on the bottom, I always hear ads with him talking about like entrepreneur like businesses, and like he knows his shit. I think he's being a fair moderator. I literally think he is. I thought he was just gonna be like all on Andrew's side, but Candace is doing well. Is Logan still in WWE? I don't even watch that crap. My cousin's obsessed with it. I used to go with him all the time to wrestling events. I don't even watch the UFC anymore. I see people coming on my thing and they like go off. So how you everyone doing this fine Friday? Got anything for the weekend? Wait, yeah, today's Friday. I thought it was Thursday. I should have went to the gym, but I wanted to do this. I want to see if anybody else is doing the debate like Nate. Wonder if Nate found anything on the stolen valor. Oh, that's great. That's amazing. Thanks for saying that, Nate. The U.S. military is officially out of weapons. That's good for us. Wait, was this yesterday? Oh no, this was a month ago. I was like, wait, who's Nate debating with? I wonder who. I guess he must have not have heard anything else about with Andrew. Yeah, because Rachel did say he was a sniper. You were only in the military for a year. It's the army's what, 4 years? Yeah. You don't become a sniper your first fucking year. Like, look what it takes for like special forces and that. How long it takes them. That's at least 2 years. 2 to 4. That's what Nate said. So I always watch Nate Bahala BFT. Nate, if you ever watch this, I want to do a live with you, brother. JD, you're the reason why I have my podcast. Because you told me I had to. Because I was the only one that died in jail for as long as I did. I am going to be doing another channel. Like my because I don't want to do like 50 different things on one channel. Like my martial art stuff. Like I'll do that on one. I do want to do I love watching ghost hunting stuff. I want to do more on that. So I think I might make a second channel for that. Dude. Andrew must be taking like 5 cigarette breaks. I could use one. But I can't. I don't smoke in my place. Every time I'm doing a live or video, you always got to fucking call phone. Tired of it. It's all spam anyways. I'll be back, guys. I gotta go to the restroom. Ah, shit. I should have been. I'll be back, guys. I gotta go to the bathroom. Damn. You know what, guys? I'm gonna end because everybody's watching all on Candace's and all them. So I'll put in my description, I'll put the whole debate so you guys can watch. I even have them tagged in my stuff, so and I'll have the link for the whole debate. But I don't want to completely copyright them. I don't want to do the whole thing. So at least I've done close to 3 hours of this. So I hope you guys have a great one. Please like, subscribe to Candace, Andrew, and Patrick. And if you could please like mine or subscribe, just let me know in the comments. If you just want me to do something like certain videos, just let me know. Thank you. And I will put that video of Andrew saying it'd be us that us internet sleuths that did it, that figures out what happens to Charlie. So have a great day.